I think there was some sort of moth, and they were convinced that it was a fairy.
Ay, sí, sí, mira, mira, mira. Ahí hay algo volando.
The wings were very fluttery, and it was really tiny. So it sort of looked like a fairy. So I said, oh yeah, I see it too.
Me too. Donnie didn't answer it.
When you're 5, when you're 6, when you're 7, you're questioning and you're trying to figure out where things come from. And why not do that through play, which is how you learn the most and how you learn the best. It's not the same thing to read about a fairy in a book than it is to go to a forest and try to look for it yourself. And it's not that we're choosing one or the other, it's that we're trying to combine them.
I'm 4. Four black. No, there's 1.
This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island. From the Redwood Forest.
Music is the fountain of our school. It begins the week with something that we can do well and where we can just literally create harmony. And it brings everybody together.
Es tu tierra, es mi tierra.
Because the songs are 50% in Spanish, 50% in English, that becomes a common language for us across the school and an important entry point for the grown-ups, the kids, and everybody.
Esta tierra es tuya y mía también.
Hola, 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 ¿cómo estás? Levanto la otra y te saludo más. We start the day with one of the kids choosing which song to sing. We sing hello first, then we read the schedule, then we do the message. The message usually has a question that the kids have to answer.
Move your eyes to the easel. Move your eyes to the easel. Let's get started to read our message. Yesterday was Mother's Day. What is something special about your mom?
What is something special about your mom? I want you to tell a friend next to you.
About my mom, she bring me a ring, a necklace, and
When we have a question and we ask them to talk to each other and report back to the classroom, not their response, but their friend's response, right? So we have been practicing carefully listening, and also it's not only about myself.
Lily, who did you ask?
Gail.
What is special about Gail's mom?
She said that her mom's special because she said that she's always nice to her.
She's always nice to her. Carl, would you like to share?
Yushing's mom.
I think the whole morning routine, it's pretty much run by the kids. So reading the schedule, practicing the numbers, the ordinal numbers, first, second, third in both languages, right?
La mesa del bosque.
La mesa del bosque.
Trenes y rieles.
Trenes y rieles.
Y el área de pretender.
El área de pretender. Donde hoy. Quiero ir a ciencias hoy.
Everyone has to say something in front of the rest of the class. And today it was in Spanish, and they all had to use Spanish to say which area to go to.
Quiero ir a bloques hoy. Yay!
And I think it's an important part of like learning vocabulary, using language, starting to talking in front of the class.
All right. Think, think, think. Think, think, think. Think about your 3 options for project time. What's your first option? What's your second option? What's your third option? Ready?
Yes.
Giancarlo.
Where are you working today? I am working on construction today.
Today. Fuerza, con fuerza. Good. You've done this before? Your dad does this, right? Go harder, harder.
One very important thing that I noticed with Giancarlo, he was really good in, you could see the experience he had. So I had the initiative to ask him, you've done this before, haven't you? Mm-hmm. And he goes, I have, in Puerto Rico. And then as he was hammering the nail, he started telling me. I'm like, what about Puerto Rico? He was like, my dad in Puerto Rico, we had a granja. They had like a little farm. And they had to do like little pieces of woods to do stuff for like a little gate or something. And his dad would use a lot of hammers. And he was always around his dad to do that. So I prompted, I wanted to ask him that because I could see the way he was holding the hammer, holding the nail. You could see experience in that. And that was really interesting, that I got to know a little bit more about him through that.
Y ponle fuerza. Y esto te está ayudando también. Déjame ver. What happened?
And right now you're going to work on the first character. It's the Black Panther, yes? You're gonna make, look, first you're gonna make the head, and then you're gonna make the body. Yeah. If you're gonna work on a puppet show, the puppets have to be at least the size of this paper. Because remember, you're going to project from the top of the loft. And if
some kids wanted to go to drawing and writing and make puppets, and it was interesting to see that the first thing that they do, it's making puppets without having any stories, right? And I let them go through the experience of making puppets, and then they realize, wait, so now what? And then when we tell them that you actually need a story for the puppet show, some kids give up, and they prefer to join somebody else's story because they don't have a story in their head. Some kids, they come with their stories, but they don't have the idea of like making puppets.
Are you all working on the same puppet show or different things?
No, different things.
Different things?
Me and Carter are going to pretend. We're going to pretend that I'm not the Black Panther.
So then you have to talk. Talk to him.
That day was interesting because Lucky had a whole story in his head. Mason had all the puppets, but he didn't have a story. Once Lucky started to tell me the story, and I started to write it down, they all started to jump in.
Something scary happened. The plane shaped.
That's a good idea.
That's a good idea.
Then the airplane fell in the water, and then Miles said, and then the shark came. So like they composed the story together without knowing. So it was like a process, and now they have a story.
I got 4, and I mean 1 more.
You're gonna make one more.
I love puppet shows. I think it's so much going on over there. Like the making the puppets, coming up with the story, the script, thinking about dialogues, right? Memorizing our dialogue, being able to be there and get organized with so many little things. So it's so much that happens, so many skills that they're developing.
We have the background,
The background.
the forest.
Where is it?
Do you need more tape? 4, 3, 2, and 1. The Fairies and the Gems by Chloe, Emily, Gail, and Sage. In the forest, Chloe, Gail, and Sage were playing a game. They saw something shining under a rock. They were diamonds. They took them, but they belonged to the fairies. One thing they didn't know was that one of the fairies, Twinkle Toes, was looking at
The puppet show activity, it came from the children. Some of the children here had done that in pre-K 2 years ago. And so Sage that day, we were doing for a school project, and I suggested, was like, how about you guys write a story about what happened yesterday with the fairies and the diamonds? And Sage was like, wait, remember when we had puppet shows in the Elms? We can do that. So she explained to the others about the puppet show, and they were interested in the puppet show. And because we do project time share, one area usually share, and we have the same structure, you present, then we ask questions, or you make some comments. So the structure was the same as project time share. Just the area sharing was a different structure because it was puppet show, so they had to set up and present.
Later, they made their way back to their house. The end. All right, stay over there. Emily, and Gail, stay there for the questions and comments. Questions and comments about the puppet show, about the authors of the puppet show.
In real life, like when you were at forest school, how do you know that the fairies took the gems? We don't actually know, but we think they took them.
The kids watching were so excited, were so motivated. They are motivated by their own peers. I could see it in their face. They were like, you know what? I want to do a puppet show right now myself.
Should we write 14 hints? Do you want to practice reading the question? Have you been inside the big tree trunk? Okay, Dami, go ask.
Have you been in the big tree? Remember when we were playing? Oh yeah, I like that tree.
Survey is an opportunity for them to ask each other questions and get to know each other a little bit more. The person that went to surveys, Camila, I helped her think of a question that she could ask her friends, and she's really friendly, but she doesn't have really close friends. and she struggles with inserting herself in other people's conversations and play. And so having that survey and having a task was helpful for her to go to each person. I was really happy with that risk that she took of, you know, going to everyone and figuring out how many she needed. She was thoughtful of figuring out to go one area at a time to make sure that she had everybody. She was careful with the counting and making sure that all the tallies matched the people that we had in the classroom. How many friends said yes? 10. Can we write the total here? Let's see. Can you use your finger? I was very surprised by Givi's structure with manipulatives. He made 2 trees and put some soft connecting cubes around the trees. He's usually very quiet, doesn't speak much in groups. He's not a big fan of sharing either in front of the class. And so I was very surprised that he knew exactly what he wanted to do when he went to manipulatives. Okay, it is time to clean up. Do you want to share that, Givi? Yeah? No? Okay. Everybody start cleaning up as soon as you hear the magic word. Melt. That's why I asked you if you wanted to share it, because it's really cool. And so you can share it and then save it. Okay? All right. Let's see. The 4th part of project time is to share. And it can happen different ways. Sometimes children come up to us and say, I really want to share this. I'm proud of this. And other times teachers see that someone did something different with a material and we want to showcase it to the class. And so we ask that person or that group to stand in front of the class and share and talk about what they did. I think that it makes them feel empowered to stand in front of a class and talk about what they've done. And it helps the other children learn from their friends. I think we have children of different abilities, so it feels really good to have the spotlight and feel like you can do and you can share and you have something to say. All right, Gaby.
I made a tree.
You made a tree?
I did a tree and the sand.
And a what?
Sand.
¿Lo quieres decir en español?
Eso es un árbol y esto es una tierra.
La tierra. En inglés se dice soil. Is that what you were trying to say? Do you want to say something else? Anything else about what you made?
Yo hice el árbol.
El árbol. All right. So we can say that. I was happy that Gibby was the one that got to share because he doesn't usually get the spotlight. And he's playing with the idea of English and Spanish. Like, he sometimes prefers to speak English, but his first language is Spanish, and so he goes back and forth with that. But I'm really proud of him. And he really wanted to keep it, so I kind of negotiated and said, well, share it, and then you can keep it, just to challenge him to stand in front of the class.
Robert, remember what we played last?
Forest School has really brought a new layer to him. He's speaking so much when he's in the forest. Not only speaking very loud and screaming, which I think says a lot about his needs, but he's asking a lot of questions to the teachers and to his friends.
¿Y cómo se dice esto en español?
He's very good about finding worms. I don't know how he does it, but it's really special that he does. He just puts his tools in and a worm appears.
Ay, Kevin, pero mira otro aquí. Así es, Carmen.
Today, someone said to him, you're an expert at finding worms. And he became a different person. He had a big smile on his face. And we spoke a little bit about that on our way to school. And he did say, like, I didn't know I was an expert at finding worms. So it was really special to hear him acknowledge that he's really good at something.
Oh my God! That one is
really sound.
It's really moving a lot. He has to get energy. He has to get energy. Want it?
I'm just very proud of him. I'm excited for what the future holds for him. And I wish he could continue doing forest school because I think it's brought to him this new confidence and these new abilities that I don't think he knew he had. And I remember someone saying in one of our interviews that nature makes us human. And I think that this experience has really brought him to be an actual, like, a person and going back to those, I don't know, what makes him who he is. I was thinking a lot about when I saw the children playing that they were happy. And I don't think we talk enough about that, about children being happy anywhere. There was structure, but there weren't as many rules, but there was a lot of screaming and laughter and working together and just in general that, like just pure joy. And I was happy that they were experiencing that. I believe that it's important for children to feel represented in the classroom and in their learning. And even though as a teacher I do have skills and ideas of expectations that I want them to learn. Like they have to learn how to read, they have to learn how to write. But if we find ways of making that interesting to them and finding opportunities where they're practicing this skill because they're doing something that they love. It's listening to what they're talking about, to what they're interested in, and making the learning about that.
Forest school poem. Okay. Maple trees, nice trees, broken trees, climbing trees, dark, squishy mud, 100 cool ones.